to the Central Appalachian Flooding Situation Update. It is Monday, August 1st, 1900 Central Hours. Really appreciate everyone taking some time out of their day to hop on tonight. As everyone has no doubt gathered, either from news reports or from seeing a flurry of activity in EMS, Microsoft Teams, and their TR inboxes, the organization's been doing a lot of work tracking and then preparing to respond to this flooding event. The team tonight is really excited to brief to you about the efforts that we've made so far, talk you through the decision-making process, our current goals and objectives, and then where we're going over the next couple of weeks. But before we dive into that brief, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Roll Tide, has asked for 5 minutes to address the audience writ large. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Jeff Byard to kick us off.
Hey, thanks, Drew. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? All right, good deal. Hey, guys, sorry I'm on audio only, but just wanted to take a minute. One, to say thank you. Truly one of the best coordinated and communicated planning efforts and operations that I've been a part of, really in 20 years of doing it. So, good job to the team writ large. That's just the first stage. There's a lot of people hurting, as you know. You're seeing it on the media. We're hearing it and seeing it from our gray shirts that are on the ground now. And I know many of you will be headed that way. So, I want to thank you in advance for that. But as with everything, our job is, the way I feel like my job is to get gray shirts to need, and you will figure out that need and solution that need. So the team's working that. You'll hear that tonight. But really appreciate everything. As I say a lot with any disaster planning, disaster response, communicate early and often. You cannot over communicate. So, let's continue to do that. But thank everybody that's been involved and all of you that will be involved. This is a pretty significant event. And again, I go back to a lot of people hurting, and we can provide solutions in that situation. So thank you. Drew, I'll turn it over to you, or I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any of me.
Any questions for the boss man? All right, I don't see or hear any, so I'm going to bring the deck up and we will get this rolling. Guys, just a few quick notes as I pull up my slides. House rules are in effect. We got a lot of folks on the call, so that means if you are not presenting, please keep yourself on mute, not because we don't want to hear what you have to say, but just because it'll really disrupt the presentation. If you have questions, please utilize the chat. Team members are standing by to address them, or alternately, save your questions for the end. The staff will stick around after we wrap and talk everyone through any questions they might have about the current operations. Not going to go into great depth about what I would do if I won the Powerball or anything else that you might need to know. So another just couple of framing things. You guys will see up here a few different things. The key daily objectives that we're talking about there give you a snapshot of our current state. Current state as an organization is that we have 2 active operations, one non-traditional, one traditional. The traditional one in Letcher County is looking at being fragoed as we stand up air mobilization. So the team is going to talk you through the decision-making process around that, what those waves look like, what those opportunities to engage are. You'll also see a couple of ADVON efforts listed there, one of them in Pike, one of them in Hazard, Kentucky. Different futures for those, as one of those is going to get rolled into another operation. One of those is going to become its own project. Thank you, Dennis. And so those decisions will also be explained by the mission planning team members. The big thing that we're going to foot stomp 2-3 times is just around upcoming airwaves, and then future plans for us as we continue to look as affected areas. I want to really stress to everybody that this remains an active disaster. What that means is that it is still raining in Kentucky, it is still flooding, and so our objectives and awareness are updating not just daily, but almost hourly as we look at new areas of interest or new impacts to areas that we are currently tracking. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I will hand the microphone over to the woman in the Kentucky EOC, Ms. Kate Emerald.
Good evening, everybody, from the Kentucky State EOC. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the situation that Kentucky has received quite a bit of rain, but the mass event that happened was during the early morning hours of 7/28. So about a week ago, 9 to 11 inches of rain fell in a 4-hour period. This is being described as a 1 in 10,000 year flood that took place. 13 counties were affected. Numerous water rescues have taken place. First, they were done by helicopter and boat, but now they have resumed ground searching in most of the counties. However, we did have, as Drew mentioned, subsequent flooding again this morning in 4 of the counties that have been affected. The president did declare a disaster. A federal disaster declaration for public assistance in 13 counties and individual assistance in 5 counties. However, the federal government is on the ground in the other counties that did not get IA and assessing those. I believe they completed 2 of those counties today and are looking to get the rest of them also declared for IA. At this point, we do not have an active missing persons list because cell phone reception is out, power is out, and water is out. I am happy to report that we are under 10,000 power outages at this point, which is the best number that we have had in a week. But we are still sitting at approximately 40,000 customers without power. That's not 40,000 people, that's 40,000 customers, including 3 water treatment plants that are completely offline. So we have a water problem, we have a sewer problem. Temperatures are expected to be in the 100 to 105 degree heat index range starting tomorrow. So not only do we have a power and water problem, we have residents who are completely cut off because their land bridge was washed away. So they cannot access any county roads. They do not have power, they do not have water, they do not have food. So trying to get supplies to those people is a challenge. Trying to get those roads clear is a challenge. We do have 37 deaths. That is the updated total that was released from the EOC this afternoon. Most of them are adults. However, there have been some children that have perished. 17 of those deaths took place in Knott County alone. Search and rescue is still ongoing. And I think that's all I have for the situational update. If there are not any questions, if there are, please drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer those. Happy to talk through this next slide too. So this is just a social vulnerability index is one of the things that Team Rubicon looks at when they are looking at response. I would like to point out that these are the counties that are highlighted that have been affected and that have been declared. And the majority of those are close to the highest social vulnerability index that is measured by the CDC, which means that these are not affluent communities we're talking about. These
working. Just go stand over there. The guy knows.
These communities are communities that are very rural and they do not have a whole lot of industry in this area, so very socially vulnerable. And you can advance to the next slide. This is some of the photographs that have been taken by some of our photographers that have been in the area of the damage. More to come on that. There's a ton of damage, but it's very, very heartbreaking. You can see complete water, the power of water is amazing and definitely washed out a lot of roads, bridges, overpasses, houses, any kind of building or standing structure you can think of. I'm going to finally quit talking after this slide, so I'm sure that y'all be glad to be rid of me. But I'm going to talk through the government relations piece. This has been an amazing experience because we were an active part in the EOC during the tornadoes. We were welcomed back to the state EOC very enthusiastically to help coordinate with government partners and VOAD partners. So currently I am the ESF 6 lead in the Kentucky State EOC, which means that I report on mass care and VOAD movements within the space. Chrissy Buckley will be joining me tomorrow to be the Team Rubicon agency representative. So what that means is that I'm part of the planning P, right? So for all you ICS gurus out there, I'm sitting in on those tactics meetings, those planning meetings, and all of that stuff, and really able to advance the VOAD movement, which is a huge part of what Team Rubicon's about. So working with that communication and collaboration. You can see listed in the bottom two slides all the VOAD organizations that are in the area and what they're doing, where they are currently. That is updated as of today. We have been placed, or I have been placed on a task force with FEMA talking about the restoration of ingress and egress routes to homes that happen over water, and how do we get those restored. We're continuing our conversations with state agency partners, specifically the Transportation Cabinet and the Department of Forestry, to be a force multiplier to them. Transportation Cabinet totally just heard me say Transportation Cabinet and looked at me. We're working with state and local partners to make sure that cooling stations are set up in the next 24 hours for these extreme heat indices. So again, we're working with our Red Cross partners here, working with our wider VOAD partners, working with some gray shirts, other gray shirts that are employed by the federal government and the state government here in the EOC. So it's a good time, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Again, please drop any questions that you have in the chat.
Thank you, Kate, and incredibly grateful for the conduit and the partnerships that we have through both the state EOC and then across the VOAD network. Really empowered our response, enabled us to get to some of the correct communities, as you guys are going to hear shortly. With that, we're going to start talking about stuff that we are currently doing on the ground. So I'm going to hand it over to Beth.
There's that unmute button. All right, so in order to support our gray shirts on the ground in Kentucky, we currently have 4 field leadership members deployed to support those situational needs in the area of incident command, situation unit leader, tech, field services, supporting another county with recon, potential to stand that up into an operation, and our debris removal team. We do have a few IMT members that remain in reserve to help support those additional needs as they are clarified as we continue to get that information on the ground. As we talk about health and safety, my friends, COVID is still a thing. We will continue to set up our billets with 6-foot spacing to ensure the health and safety of our gray shirts. We will also continue to follow and support community guidelines and monitor the CDC and that transmission spread to see if we need to adjust fire as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth. And so you heard her talk about the 2 active projects we're currently supporting. The first of which is that debris removal project in Knott County. Sandy, why don't you start telling us how we got that operation going?
So as we were doing recon in the area of Perry and Knott County, which was very hard hit by these floods, we started getting requests in from the EOC through Kate that obviously there's a lot of roads being out with all of this damage. There's either roads that are undercut, roads with tree debris, roads that have complete landslides over them. So this is also blocking access for first responders and other personnel to get to these folks that need the help. So the ask was put out to Team Rubicon to support for a debris removal team. Now, we had to do a shift here because normally we would be doing recon just to see what the damage was to private residences and homes to start up an operation like we typically do. But because this ask came directly and it was a definite immediate need for this community, we kind of shift gears a little bit, sent that recon up, turned them into an Advon team and had them scope out the area so that we could all get to work as fast as possible. So it was definite shift in team, and this team did an amazing job in making that happen. And that operation is at Opward, and they are getting ready to just hit it hard. So that was an amazing response to that request.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And Beth, any current updates from that team in the field that you can share?
I know our task force leader was lurking in the background, but they let us know that they were down to half a bar. They should be inbound and on the ground in Perry and Knott County somewhere between 9 and 10 Eastern tonight. So we do expect to see some awesome work come out of them tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And great work on that one, guys. Let's roll into Letcher County. And Caitlin is going to tell us how we got to Opward on this one.
All right, so Operation Appalachian Spirit up in Letcher County. We started to receive reports of significant damage in the area. So there was a request for assistance. We got a recon team in the field. We had Jarrett and Corey Brown head out there. They were able to cover a lot of ground. They got a lot done in a very short amount of time. And because of their hard work and significant effort that they put into the recon process, we were able to move very quickly through Warno and Advon. We got to an op board last night, got everything up and running, and the operation started today. They were able to find us a fob and billeting in the same location in American Legion in Letcher County, outside the city of Whitesburg. That location does have adequate power. The only problem is they do not have drinkable water. So we are going to have to bring some water in as well as some Wi-Fi for the initial few days of this operation. So initially, it's just going to be drivers responding to this operation, and then we're going to expand it out to flyers as it progresses, expected to last at least 21 days. But the city itself, right outside of where the fob is located, they are shutting down the water, so they currently have no water in the area. They have significant road and structure damage, continued flooding. Some of the area did sustain some more flood damage last night. High heat index, so there's some safety concerns for this op as it progresses. But we did have teams arriving today. Jarrett Brown transitioned into the role of IC. And we will be doing work for core ops, general and vegetative debris removal, chainsaw ops, and just generally adapting to the situation as it changes over the next couple of days.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Beth, any updates from you or Jared on this operation?
I will also happily let Jarrett jump in here. As you guys heard, huge thanks to our mission planning team. We have gray shirts on the ground today, and we are expecting, again, just like the other one, to see action begin tomorrow. So thank you.
Yeah, op here Zero's going great. We had one trailer and the first tech kit arrive. We have about a dozen gray shirts on ground. We're just finalizing our plans for tomorrow to get some site surveys out on the ground right away. We'll be rock and rolling after inventory.
Awesome. Love to hear it, guys. And just one thing to call out on this one, and also a note for future ones that are going to op board. As you guys heard, conditions are a little austere. Lack of potable water, lack of power, an issue we're encountering throughout the area. So as you sign up, especially for those early waves, bear that in mind. With that, talking about things to come, we'll pivot to our operations currently in planning. First out of the gate is a discussion of what happened with our Mingo County, West Virginia to Pike County and Floyd County, Kentucky recon. I believe Nicole Barrow from the recon team is going to talk us through this adventure.
Great adventure for us. So the team came out of Cincinnati, Northern Ohio. On Saturday evening, we transitioned into Huntington, West Virginia Saturday night, and we hit the ground running into Mingo County on Sunday morning. As we did our recon through the area, we were seeing a lot of water and flood damage. However, it was a lot of access issues just from the road across the creek into the property. Wasn't seeing a lot of actual flood damage in the homes. It was just the crawl spaces of a lot of the trailers along the creek roads there. And so by afternoon, we decided to head over into Pike County, where we were greeted by the emergency manager as well as the old transitioned out emergency manager, and given some areas to go take a look at. And so Saturday, we spent the afternoon reconning in Pike County, and then we spent yesterday Pike County in Pike County as well, doing a bunch more recon. And we found numerous homes completely affected. They've got access issues. Their access bridges are completely flipped over, if not torn apart. So we are working with Pike County today and looking to kind of transition this into a fragoed up with Letcher County. So it's going to be a super awesome opportunity to help Pike County as well.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you so much for going out there. You and Colin did an awesome job out there, and definitely helping us to expand our footprint in Letcher County to include a greater affected area is awesome. Adam, any additional commentary from you as mission planning team lead?
No, the recon team went out there and absolutely crushed it, right, covering a wide area in a short amount of time. And thanks to their hard work and collaboration behind the scenes, we're able to roll this AO into an existing operation to be slimmer, a little more expedient, right, and get boots on the ground where they need to be. So that's all I got. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you, Adam. And yeah, thanks again, Nikki and Colin. With that, additional preview of things to come in Perry County, Kentucky, especially the city of Hazard, as in Dukes of. Sandy, back to you for an operation and planning.
Thanks, Drew. So in the initial stages of all this flooding, a lot of the news media that was coming out was based out of between Whitesburg and Hazard area. So those two towns. And so we did send a team into Perry County, which is Hazard, and they ended up being part of the route clearance team that went north to Knott County. So we went back and we sent a team out, which did a phenomenal job in coordinating, especially with flights coming inbound, to get together and try to do a really solid recon on Perry County. And it was determined that there's still definite need there. And we also have an opportunity that we've been asked by the local emergency management to do some spontaneous volunteer management as well with this one. So we are going to be setting up an op for Perry County in the area of Hazard. And right now this is in Warno. So everyone will see a call to action come out, and Drew will talk about more about that later. But definitely, if you have an opportunity, come up and help these cities. They are hurting. The people need all the help they can get. They're completely broke, high SVI, and they are really in need of all of our assistance. So, and you'll be definitely welcomed with open arms by the citizens of these areas. So we do have a FOB actually identified in this area. So the next steps with this one is going to be pushing on toward getting an operations order out so that all of you wonderful people out there can sign up and come join us in Kentucky and get your shirt dirty. That's all for me, Drew. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And I'll call on Britton just to give us perhaps a preview of any additional planning efforts we are making.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, everyone, for being on tonight. There's a lot of moving pieces that have been involved, and I just want to say thanks to everybody that's helped out to this point. We understand that we've got heavies rolling in tonight. We've got site survey going on in the morning. We've got 9 feet of water in the city of Hazard inside some of these homes. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and we don't think we found it all just yet. The FEMA disaster declaration included 13 counties, and we've been in about half of those. So we want to make sure that we are able to communicate and get a good idea of all the damage that's really out there. So we're working with our partner VOAD organizations. We're working with the state and county emergency operations centers across this affected area, just to make sure that we don't leave anybody out, right? We all know why we're here, and that's to make sure we're able to have that opportunity to help somebody on their worst day. And if we don't take the time to find these guys, we're not going to know it. So the plan moving forward is to look to get some recon teams still out the door. I know that we're standing up an op and we're moving people around, but we're really wanting to identify everybody that's potentially affected by this disaster. So there's a lot of moving pieces that have already happened and a lot more still to come. And like my fellow presenters have hinted at, there's a call to action in your near future. So please be monitoring your email, and I hope to see you guys out in the field. With that, unless there's any questions, I'll turn this back over to Drew. Thank you all.
Thank you, Britton, and thank you for continuing to drive our planning forward because, as discussed, big area that we're looking at, lots to do. With that, we're going to move into one of the most significant updates, especially for those of you outside the 450 radius. Our MOB lead, David, who also very recently completed his retirement from the Navy, I believe, last night, that recently. So congrats to him on that. And David, why don't you tell us about some people movement, man?
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. So as everybody said, we've got 2 ops going on right now with people on the ground already, and a lot more to come. Letcher County, we've dispatched effective yesterday. Our numbers for this week look pretty solid. It's beyond this week that we're going to need a lot of help. And then Perry County and possibly Pike as well coming with that. On that note, we are creating, putting up the finishing touches for a landing page. Those of you that may have registered for Unbridled Spirit or the resettlement project may have been similar. If you pay attention to the chat here now, our link is active. It will send you to that landing page so you can register for each and all of these sites if you choose, all in one-stop shop. We will also be doing 3 flight waves for this, starting, today is Monday the 1st, so Thursday the 4th. And they'll be a week long. And we've also been coordinating with Airlink to get their support beyond August 10th to be able to get gray shirts to the needed locations. And if that wasn't enough, as you guys may have noticed from Kate earlier, we're also supporting the Kentucky State EOC. So we have her there, as well as another gray shirt, Chrissy, who should be arriving here relatively soon, if not there already. And that should pretty much sum it up. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you, David, and congrats again on the retirement, brother. With that, we're going to slide over into everybody's favorite, the easy function. Logs is easy, I always hear. Kim Sheeran, our logistics leader, why don't you tell us all about the trucks and trailers?
All right, right now further up the holler, we've got truck 206 and 207 with trailer 638, 680H, and the CTL out of Atlanta doing some work. And Appalachian Spirit, which is Letcher County, have trailer 646 out of Georgia, along with its rental. Do have 4 rental trucks that are reserved. I believe they picked some of those up today. And we also have a truck reserved for the IMT member that's coming in tonight. Our Recon Advon team out of Hazard or Perry County, they do have a rental vehicle. We have rentals standing by for them once we have a date, but we have been in touch with Enterprise there. Looking to extend our Recon vehicles that were used, and we're going to make a push for Hertz once things get a little more stable on the ground. We do have 3 response trailers ready to go, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And we have tow-capable vehicles already in hand for those. So the minute we need to pull the plug on those, we're good to go. Our needs currently, we're going to continue to identify any other rental vehicle availability. We know that we may have to have some trucks brought in as these things expand, and additional vehicles out of Letcher. So we're working on that right now. Technology branch kits. We have 3 that are at full capacity. We do have 3 that are have a reduced number of telephones in them. The route clearance tech kit with further up the holler, and we did send tech kit 3 to Letcher today. We do know that comms in the area is diminished. At Letcher, however, they do seem to have more service and Wi-Fi availability. We have communicated with the field tech folks on the possibility of needing the ITDRC support for our communications needs. National tech kits, they may have additional phones. If we need those, we can get those sent up. And the RFAs and identified possible unmet needs in places, we're just standing by to see what other places we may be needed. But aside from that, logs and tech is holding tight.
Thank you, Kim. And I know I gave you grief at the beginning, but the logs team has been working their tails off to push these packages out, get additional stuff ready to go and rolled up to the AO. So huge appreciation to all the sweat and blood and tears you guys put into not just get these ops stood up, but keeping them running once they're live. With that, we're going to shift gears and go into our finance brief from the amazing Karnak himself, Mr. Johnny Tolman.
All right. That Johnny Carson skit has a lot of meaning in what we do, because we definitely are not mind readers. We need communication from everybody. And over again, we talk about communication, but it has to come from the bottom up in order for us to get this finance portion of the EMS system completed. And most of that information comes from the user. Mission planning team is one of the areas we get a lot of information. Sometimes it goes down to some of the people in the area. We need to know how many vehicles there are going to be and what the cost of the vehicles are. And that's typically a logistical function, but they provide us input to that. So it's included in the cost for the operation. Meals, we typically have a good idea how many people are going to be fed. We need to know if there's going to be saw work, how many saw teams. They all make a difference. Same thing on HE, on heavy equipment stuff. All that stuff runs on fuel. And motor oil and stuff. So we have to work very hard and diligently to try to cost estimate all that stuff. But the people who actually want the operation to go have got to tell finance what it is they want. Then we'll try to work out the dollars so they make sense. And then once the op board gets approved, then we figure out some dollar amounts off of what was input on the EMS system. And then regardless of what the amount is, it may go up in the tens of thousands of dollars, but we'll only probably fund maybe, $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 of that for the logs section chief and the IC to get things rolling. We obviously don't want to put out all that money until we get an estimate of what the burn rate is going to be, how much we're going to spend on a daily basis. Then we can increase that PEX funding as time goes on, and the IC does that request. So anyway, we're here to try to support. We always try to encourage people to remember, be a good supporter of your mother's a donor, and be a good steward of the donor dollar. Don't cheat the system. Buy what you need when you need it. And that's pretty much all we've got. And I appreciate everybody's support on that. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you, John. And quick note, Jim quoted what Sherilyn's dropped in the chat. We do have a new travel offset from finance updated because of the what is happening with this deck here? Did somebody steal control of the slides from me, or is my computer doing strange things? All right, I think we're good to go. Back with finance slides. The new travel offset policy is there in the chat for you guys. So if you have questions about that, especially with how gas prices have been recently, please do review that before you drive yourself to the operation. Our next update is from our brand comms team, who will cover down on all brand comms issues.
Thank you, Drew, for handing it off to brand comms and branch comms. We really appreciate it. Just to cover this real quick, we are working with the PR agency that we have to get media advisories out, get the local and national news to know what we're doing. We're also going to send Devin Miller. He is the brand comms communications senior associate out there. So we're going to get him out there as a PIO. I'll let Devin talk a little bit about his history if he wants to, about what he did before TR. Great fit to have that him out there, and we're hoping to get some of our volunteer leaders out there to be able to learn from an expert in that field. But I do want to cover a little bit of the information of how we came up with the op names here, so you guys can understand where we got them from. And I'm trying to find the quote for the further up the holler, and why we came up with that. And I think I just found it. So during the recon and the conversations that Kate was having in the EOC, one of the road supervisors in Knott County actually quote, this is a direct quote from here. There are people who are clearing the mouth of the holler and assuming that it's the only place where the road blockage is, when the residents are actually blocked further up the holler. And that's where we came up with the debris removal team's op name is a direct quote from that, because that's the way Kentucky is. I know a lot of people from there, so we always try to tie op names into the local community and what's going on. So that's where that one came from. And for our core operations piece, we decided with Appalachian Spirit. I know from the South Branch, a lot of people see whatever spirit, but honestly, Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky is really got a high spirit. They've got a deep spirit for their Commonwealth. It's actually part of their state motto, which is Unbridled Spirit, which is where that name came from for the tornadoes. And this area being the Appalachians and the Central Appalachians, we wanted to tie it to the community and really have everybody that deploys to this operation really have that tie to the community, because they're devastated and they need a lot of help. So we wanted to make sure that we could tie that into it. For our asset capturing, for those that don't know, we try to capture as much assets as we can, as many pictures. Our donors want to see some of those. Our gray shirts want to see that. So what we did is we got Austin Handel, who's our social media coordinator for TR and a TikTok influencer, and we sent him out there with the initial recon team to get some photos. And those photos you saw on the opening slide of the damage were some of his photos that he took. We're able to get it out there, and that actually helped us with some of the donations that we're receiving to be able to support these communities. And what we've done now is we transitioned him over to the debris removal team. We want to be able to get some of that work because that's going to be very impactful for the community there in Knott County. But we also want to do a huge shout out with him over there. We sent up one of the trucks that went up today is one of the trucks that Wells Fargo has donated and Stanley Tools has donated to us. If you guys don't realize, that's an F-250. That's a lot of money that they've donated. We want to show them that what we're using the donated equipment for, so that they can see, hey, we spent money on this. We donated this to Team Rubicon. They're getting shit done out in the field. So we're going to get some of that that content so that they can see that, so our other donors can see that. Maybe Stanley or Ford or one of the others, Wells Fargo, can push other organizations to donate to our response efforts. In addition to that, we're working with the as you were, brand comms team. I almost messed it up, Drew. The brand comms team and the branch team to develop a plan to deploy photographers to any of the core operations that we have coming up, so that we can get that content and get it to our dev team so that they can raise money for our responses. That's all I've got, Drew. I'm going to throw it back to you. Thank y'all.
I think what Jeremy's saying is if you do deploy and you drive the brand new Wells Fargo F-250, please don't damage it because it's very expensive and we want to use it on many future operations. Last update of the night, I'll cover down for our friends in development. If you guys aren't on the development mailing lists, they've been sending out updates to all donors. Leveraged the Mission Overwatch campaign because of attention from the Kentucky floods. It meant that we met our match goal. So Under Armour donated an additional matching amount. So that was pretty exciting news on that front. And they are not yet getting restricted donations. They're currently taking donations broadly into the Ready Reserve Fund, but that may change as we move through it. Yes, Laura, they hit that goal last night. So it was just a big update because of the attention from Kentucky flooding. We were able to get over the hurdle there. So just to tie things up for everybody, kind of recap where we are, where we're going. We currently do have those 2 active operations on the ground. The non-traditional debris removal operation, which currently is slated for 10 days to be working primarily in Knott County, may move to other places. And then our first core operations response working right now in Letcher County, soon to be fragoed to include Pike County, will be part of an air mobilization wave, as well as a core operations response up in Perry County. So we will have those two FOBs as landing spots for gray shirts, initially scoping it with these 3 waves of 1 week. But we're going to be committed to helping this community as long as we have gray shirts to serve, and an opportunity and good work for them to do. So expect to see that this may scale outward if we do find additional opportunities to serve communities. Also, you may see additional FOBs come online as Britton and his mission planning groups continue to assess the damage that's out there. At this point, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to drop the slides. I'm going to hand it over to San for our leadership closeout. But then I know I've seen a couple of folks drop questions in the chat. I know there's a few hands up. So after San gives us our leadership closeout, if you do have questions, hang out and we will happily talk through them. But first, San, if you have any closing words for the team.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Just really quick, team. First of all, I want to thank everyone on the call, but first start with the development of these ops for Kentucky, from Drew, who's been leading all of these discussions, coordinating so much things, going from Kentucky to TR to Kentucky to TR and back to you guys. And all the MPT leaders that have developed these different ops, and also the functional areas. What I'm so pleased to see is the seamless transition from the FTEs that we're presenting for the last 3 days to our volunteer leaders that are like, seem like they were there the whole time. And that's just beautiful that you guys are working together like that. I know we've had several pre-calls to make sure that, we were prepared to bring you guys on the calls. I know some of you probably were out there waiting to know and wanting to know what was going on, but we wanted to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row before we invited you guys so we could be prepared for your questions. But again, you guys have just been awesome with presenting tonight, from Caitlin, Nicole, Sandy, Jared, and Kim. And if I missed anyone, I apologize. But again, thank you guys for doing that, because, going from ISR to recon to Warno and all through the mission planning process takes a lot. And then when things are flooding, when things are going from this spot to this spot, you got to hold off on here and come into this spot and all that. You guys are still excited to go out there and help the people that are in need. Like I said before, Jeff Byer said earlier, he appreciates it. TR appreciates it. And we can't wait. I know I have for the next 2 weeks, I'm traveling for TR, but I'm looking to arrange my schedule to be out there on the 16th, the week of the 16th, to be on the ground to join the gray shirt so I can get my shirt dirty as well. So I'm looking forward to joining you guys to get out there and get some stuff done. I don't use too much profanity, so I won't say SHIT, but you know what I mean. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'll take it back over to you, Drew. Hope everyone has a good night. I'm going to sit in and listen to some of the questions that are going to be asked for this call. So take care, guys.
Thank you, San. And yes, 1000%. Thank you to everyone, both for all of the work you've done so far, the work you will do, and your time tonight. That being said, that does conclude the formal presentation of the call. We will hang out and answer questions either in the chat or in person. I don't know whose hand was up first. I see 2 right now. Oh, it gives me a little order right there. Sue, according to the hand order, you were first. So go ahead, unmute, let us know what you'd like to know.
Have we heard anything about recon, Advon, anything for Harlan County, Kentucky?
So we are continuing to assess counties that we have not yet been to. Harlan is one of the counties that we have not yet been to. Brenton, I will pass over to you in terms of assessment for how we're weighing where to go next.
All right, that situation is still fluid. We factor in a few things: power outages, river crest levels, the amount of water on the ground, anticipated flooding. And I'm looking at a list here. they are not reporting any power outages in that county. We will be sure to keep them in mind as we kind of go through the process. But at this time, there isn't anything that jumps off the page that shows that they are in a situation that they really need our help. But we're always combing what available resources are out there, trying to make the best informed decision possible on where to send gray shirts into the field. If you have information specific to the county or any of these counties for that matter, feel free to get it to me directly, and I'd be happy to take a closer look at it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm more than that. That's my people there. So if you need some more recon, I'm down. I know those hollers good.
Awesome. Thanks, Sue.
All right.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Britton. Dennis, you are the remaining hand, sir.
Just a real quick question. Is there an update of, I'm heading down as PSC on Wednesday or Thursday. Are we going to have any road issues getting into the area at Whitesburg that we know of? I'll be coming through West Virginia. So, I mean, it's already been a shit show up here. I'm part of the roads. I mean, our roads are actually flooding may help our roads. So I just didn't know if there's going to be any issues coming in that there's definitely aware of that could still be there at the time.
So we are tracking road closures. Right now, getting into Whitesburg itself has not been the challenge. It's getting like further in up towards Pike, up towards not. That being said, it's a flooding situation, so not to sound corny, but it is fluid and it may change. So definitely as you get closer to dispatch, reach out to the FOB. They should be able to give you the most accurate and updated information of road conditions on your drive-in, sir.
And just to chime in on that, the state just sent out a report, and there are 2 road closures in the county of Letcher, both off of Highway 343, which is not one of the main routes into the FOB. So like Drew mentioned, you should be safe to get in, and we'll make sure that you guys, while you're in the field, have updated resources like road closures and weather. And if you need any of that, once you get out there, feel free to ping me directly.
Yeah, I appreciate it because I'll be most likely the POC once I get down there. So I'll want to at least get a good update on that on a regular basis.
Absolutely. It's what we're here for.
Thanks, Dennis, and thanks for volunteering and stepping forward to go out there, man. Planning is a tough gig, as I know you know. Next up, Daniel, what you got for us, brother?
Quick question. The getting there from where I live is less than 450 miles, but the issue is getting there. I want to have one vehicle, so unless I can get a ride with somebody, I really want to go. So if I had to, if I rented a car, can I get reimbursed for that?
So the reimbursement rates are the same, no matter how you get there, whether you use that money to take a bus, buy a motorcycle, ride a horse. It's a flat mileage rate. So you can plug into your finance team if you're not sure what that would end up looking like. They can give you specifics. I don't know off the top of my head what it would be for you individually right now with the updated numbers that Sherilyn and Jim Lehman shared earlier. Another good resource that I know has worked a lot of gray shirts well in the past, use your local metro team. If anybody else is deploying on a similar timeline as you, the gray shirt ride hitching system has been an effective way to get into the fight. So highly encourage carpooling wherever possible. Next up, Christy.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm just wondering, besides the rock clearance team, have you guys seen any other chainsaw work, or is this mostly just gonna be core ops or muck and guts?
So we've seen some, and actually forestry recalled hotshot teams out of the West because there was so much vegetative debris that got swept around. So it is a possibility that we will see more of it, especially with the recurring floods. All that being said, we think that most of what we're seeing is going to be whole home muck outs. Water lines are at roof lines for a lot of these places. So that'll probably be our bread and butter for most of these ops. Any other questions? Any hands that I didn't see? Any questions get dropped in the chat that nobody got to? All right, seeing and hearing none. Guys, thanks again for everyone signing on tonight. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for all the support and time that you guys put into this organization, helping people in need. Apologies again that we ran a little bit long. We will push out the recording for all who were here. Everybody have a great night, and let's go get shit done.
Night, everyone. Be safe.